The movie began with a girl named Mel crawling out of a grave, only to be confronted by a mysterious figure wielding a pickaxe. She pleaded for mercy, but the figure killed her. In the present day, 5 friends were seen on a road trip. Among them was Clover, Mel's sister. They had come in search of Mel, following the trail of where she had last been seen. The group stopped at a store where Mel had recorded a final video message to Clover, expressing how much she missed their late mother and wanted to leave home to heal. Megan, who had some psychic abilities, asked everyone to hold hands to tap into the residual energy. Just as they seemed to be gaining some clarity, a truck horn interrupted them. Inside the store, Clover wanted to show the cashier a photo of Mel, but Max offered to go with her. Na stopped him, reminding him that Clover needed space, especially since the two had previously dated and broken up. When Clover showed the photo to the cashier, he admitted that Mel had gone missing and noted Clover wasn't the first person who had come searching. He warned her about Glore Valley, a nearby place where many people vanished and never returned. Outside the store, Abe, Nena's boyfriend, questioned the group's motives, suggesting they were not just retracing Mel's steps but actively searching for her. He cautioned that such ventures usually led to trouble. Shortly after, Clover informed the group she knew where Mel had disappeared. They drove through stormy weather into a creepy forest where they ended up circling aimlessly. Nena wanted to turn back, but Abe refused. Their argument was cut short when they suddenly arrived at a compound with a strange weather divide. Dark clouds on one side, clear skies on the other. Around the corner was a house. Clover stayed behind to study the strange weather demarcation, while Max remained with her. Meanwhile, Abe, Nena, and Megan entered the house and discovered items from the 1990s, including a sand timer on the wall. Nena found a registry book and signed her name. While flipping through it, she noticed Mel's name written inside. The handwriting deteriorated toward the end, hinting at something sinister. Abe began filming with his phone and found a wall covered with posters of missing people, one of them being Mel. Outside, Clover saw a figure resembling her sister and ran into the storm to investigate. As night fell, Max caught up with her and pulled her back. Once everyone regrouped, strange events began occurring. The sand timer flipped on its own, a loud banging noise echoed outside, and their car had mysteriously moved to the stormy side of the compound. They rushed back inside in panic. Without phone signals, they searched for ways to contact the outside world. Max, Clover, and Megan headed to the basement. Using her phone as a flashlight, Megan located an old radio, which only emitted static and screeching noises. Clover tried using a landline, but it was dead. Meanwhile, Abe and Nena heard a bang, and Abe went to investigate. When he didn't return, Nena followed, and was horrified to find him sliced in half by a grotesque figure. Her scream alerted the others. Max rushed over and was also shocked. He ran back to warn the group and told them to hide. As they hid, the masked figure passed by. Max attempted to fight it with a chair, but it had no effect. The figure retaliated by jabbing a wooden piece into Max's eye, killing him. Megan, hiding in a closet, was dragged out and violently killed. Clover tried to fight back with a knife, but it didn't stop the figure. She fled into the woods where she once again encountered the Mel-like figure, only to be impaled from behind by the masked assailant. The sand timer ran out, and suddenly everything reset. The friends were back to the exact moment that had started it all, bearing visible scars from their earlier deaths. They remembered everything. A new poster in the house now featured their photos as the latest missing persons. Megan sensed that the dark energy was growing stronger. Abe suggested escaping the house, but Nina argued they were safer inside. She pointed out her name had appeared twice in the registry, just like Mel's, meaning they were caught in a time loop. When a door began slamming repeatedly by itself, Abe held it closed while Max secured it with an object. Then, they heard Mel crying for help outside. Despite warnings that it could be a trap, Clover went out but found nothing. A mysterious house now stood across from them. A force suddenly pulled Clover into the new house while pushing the others back inside and slamming the door shut. Max wanted to go after her, but Abe held him back, implying he was acting out of unresolved feelings. This sparked tension between Abe, Max, and Nena. Clover awoke in the strange house, where she saw eerie masks and encountered an old woman on a breathing tank. The woman told her the only way to escape was to survive the night or become part of it. She then smothered Clover with a mask, transferring her consciousness into her and disintegrating. Meanwhile, Abe and Nena tried escaping in their car, but their path was blocked by a massive creature. When they attempted to flee, the doors locked. the masked figure appeared and killed them. Max explored the strange house and saw ghostly toys and a chair swinging on its own. As he turned around, he was slashed by the now masked Clover. When she stepped outside, Abe, now driving, rammed her with the Jeep. Time restarted once again, returning everyone to the pivotal moment where everything had originally begun. However, this time, something was different. A water tank was now visible, though it hadn't been there before. Realizing the mistake that had led to their previous deaths, the group immediately shut all the doors and took shelter in one of the bathrooms. Feeling thirsty, Abe filled a cup from the tap and asked the others if anyone wanted some water. Everyone raised their hands. At that moment, Clover recalled what the old lady had told her before their last death. Survival depended on making it through the night. Max proposed a theory. Perhaps all they needed to do was simply stay alive until dawn. He warned that if they failed, they might be trapped in this place forever, becoming part of the endless night terrors. While the group tried to devise a plan to survive, Abe suddenly began coughing violently. He attempted to hide the blood by wiping it onto the curtains, but things quickly took a horrifying turn. His coughing intensified until his body exploded, his guts splattering across the room and into Na's mouth. As she frantically tried to rinse it off, Megan stopped her, pointing out that it was the water that had triggered Abe's demise. At that moment, Na also exploded on the spot. Realizing they had all consumed the same tap water, the remaining group members panicked and fled the bathroom, retreating into the living room. But it was too late. Mag began coughing just like the others, and soon met the same gruesome fate. Terrified, Clover pleaded with Max, telling him she didn't want to suffer the same end. She begged him to choke her to death, reasoning that they could return again and use the knowledge to form a better plan. But Max, unable to bring himself to kill her, hesitated. Within moments, he too exploded right in front of her. Suddenly, a man walked into the room. It was the cashier they had met earlier in the store. He looked at Clover and said she had almost made it, but warned that survival couldn't be achieved by remaining still. Before she could react, her head exploded as well. With everyone now dead and the timer run out, the cycle restarted once more. This time, Megan noticed she had grown an extra tooth, a sign of mutation. Realizing that waiting for the timer to expire was pointless, the group began investigating. Clover found multiple IDs belonging to the store cashier, who was actually Dr. Hill, a former psychiatrist in the town. Abe discovered a newspaper article about a mining disaster in Glore Valley 20 years ago that killed over 1,000 people. Dr. Hill had been brought in to help survivors cope with the trauma. They concluded that the town had been buried in the disaster, and the entities they were facing were tied to the emotional fallout. Max found a VHS tape showing a man in a lab, undergoing psychological torment. Dr. Hill's voice in the video explained that intense fear and despair could turn people into monsters called Wendigos. Then the radio began working. Hill said there was a way out, but it required a sacrifice. One person had to die so the others could escape. Clover refused to kill anyone and insisted there had to be another way. Clover found a map and deduced where Hill was hiding. She demanded to meet him in person, and Hill agreed, if she came alone. Abe supported the idea, saying it was their only shot. Besides, Clover had attempted suicide twice that year. As the group debated, Na suddenly impaled Abe with a pickaxe, blaming him for encouraging Clover to chase her sister. Nena told Megan and Max to search for Clover while she stayed behind with Abe. Meanwhile, Clover wandered through the woods and became ensnared in a trap. As she struggled to free herself, she was suddenly dragged into a looming shadow in front of her. At the same time, Megan and Max were already in the woods with a flashlight searching for Clover, when a strange goo dropped onto Megan's shirt. Looking up, they were horrified to see a Wendigo above them. They immediately fled toward the house, but Megan tripped and fell onto a large pane of glass. Beneath the shattered glass was a buried house. With every movement she made, the glass continued to crack. Max grabbed her hands, attempting to pull her to safety, but before he could, the Wendigo pounced on Megan. Both of them crashed through the glass into the underground house as the creature dragged Megan's body into the darkness. Max survived the fall and managed to find Clover, still alive but trapped. Suddenly, Mel emerged from the shadows as a Wendigo. Before she could strike, Max quickly used a mousetrap on her face, buying just enough time for him and Clover to flee deeper into the woods. While hiding, Clover begged Max to strike her, insisting that this time they would return and do things better. After a moment of hesitation, Max agreed and slashed her. Now alone, Max drank from water droplets nearby, but moments later, he exploded in front of Mel. Immediately after, Clover woke up to another reset of the night. This time, Abe began to feel something unusual on his back. When he showed the others, they saw signs of mutation. To calm him, they assured him everything was fine. Clover asked how long they had been trapped in this loop. Max guessed it had been about 4 nights, but Na corrected him. It had been 13 nights. She urged Clover to check the registry book and reminded everyone that no one had ever survived past the 13th night. They would have to make it through this one if they wanted to escape Glore Valley. When Clover opened the window, they saw gloomy, abandoned houses that hadn't been there before. They also realized they couldn't remember what had happened in the previous cycles. Megan was now missing, and only Abe seemed to retain any memory. He revealed that he had been recording everything on his phone. Abe played several recordings for the group. One showed a claw wriggling across Clover's face, followed by a scene where her face had transformed into that of a monster. Other clips showed the horrific deaths they had suffered in previous loops. The final recording revealed that Megan had chosen to follow Dr. Hill, hoping to uncover his secrets and possibly find a way out. Suddenly, a siren blared outside. Looking through the window, they saw Wendigos approaching their building. Determined to find Megan, the group armed themselves and prepared to enter a doorway they had previously feared. The path led them through a tunnel that took them into the sunken village mentioned in the newspaper articles. Inside one of the buildings, they discovered a Wendigo scavenging among some remains. To avoid detection, they froze in place. Despite their efforts, one Wendigo eventually spotted them. Clover quickly trapped its leg with a pickaxe, giving the group a chance to escape. They took shelter in a nearby room, but the masked creature burst through the roof and attacked Clover. Max told her to go search for Megan while he distracted the creature. Together, Max and the others managed to fight off the attacker, finishing it with a massive hammer to the skull. Meanwhile, Clover was attacked by Mel once again. But this time she had accepted the truth of her situation. With resolve, she pushed Mel onto a hot iron left on the ground, killing her instantly. Clover continued her search and eventually found Megan trapped in a lab with a Wendigo chained across from her. Clover entered another room to find the key, but Dr. Hill appeared and locked the door behind her. Inside, she discovered a file containing details about herself. Dr. Hill explained that Clover had always fascinated him as a patient, given her severe depression, anxiety, and history of 2 suicide attempts. He went on to reveal that every creature she had encountered in Glore Valley was a physical manifestation of her deepest fears. As he cornered her during the conversation, Clover discreetly placed his coffee mug beneath a leaky pipe, allowing it to fill with contaminated water. She then returned it to its place. While all of this was unfolding, Abe, Na, and Max were being pursued by a horde of Wendigos. Megan, meanwhile, was still in the lab, terrified as the chained creature began to break free. Dr. Hill eventually drank the water from the mug. Moments later, he began to feel unwell. Realizing what Clover had done, he lunged at her in rage, but she managed to shove him back. As he stumbled, his body suddenly exploded. Clover seized the key and unlocked Megan's cell just in time, seconds before the Wendigo could escape its restraints. They fled the lab together and slammed the door shut behind them. But the nightmare was far from over. More creatures began chasing them. With little time left before another reset, Clover and Megan spotted an opening and sprinted toward it. At the same moment, Max and the others found them and pulled them to safety. This time, as the sand timer reached its end, the cycle did not restart. The sky above them was finally clear. The never-ending storm had ceased. Abe was already in the car, urging everyone to get in so they could leave the cursed valley at last.